No, I don't want to add a filter. Happy Wednesday. Hope everyone's having a great day. Hi, Christine. Hi, Nora. Hi, Melinda. Hi, Miss Pat. Happy Thanksgiving Eve, Nancy. Love you. You ready to start, Mary? Hi, Shirley. All right, so tomorrow's Thanksgiving. I can't believe that it's already here. And I will say that with today, we are going to begin with the KimberBell Sweetheart Street Bench Pillow, which doing this right in the midst of the thought of what needs to be going into the oven at what time, it's a little bit weird. I must admit that I thought about how I probably need to go and get some icing to get pink to put on something, but it's because I'm embroidering one holiday and planning another. Hi, Anne. Hi, Terry. Hi, Miss Val. All right, so I have a couple of jokes for you. Of course, they have to be Thanksgiving Day related. All right, so these are called, what do you call a turkey who tells jokes? A comedy hen. It's kind of bad, isn't it? Why did the pie go to the dentist? It needed a filling. And yes, I can show you that. When we go into the machine here in just a little bit, I would be glad to show you that. Why don't turkeys trust each other? Too much foul play?
Foul.
I don't get it. Huh?
Birds are foul.
Birds are foul?
Yeah, that's what they're called. Like dogs are canines, cats are felines, birds are foul.
Oh. I need to go back to school, guys. Why did the corn go to therapy? It had too many ears listening in. All right, enough with the jokes. Announcements. Hi, Peggy. Okay, so we have today's announcement is that we're closing at 3, and we will be closed tomorrow for Thanksgiving Day, and then we will open on Friday for normal business hours. And on Friday, we are going to be doing a session of comments sold with some fun stuff. So I hope that you guys are, you know what, I think everybody's going to be in a food coma. Everyone's going to be in a prime position to be watching comments sold, I think, on Friday. I feel that way after the day after. Hi, Sheila. They were interesting, weren't they, Val? Oh no, Sandy, we're here. We're happy to be here. So glad you could tune in too. Okay, so we are closing at 3 today, closed tomorrow, open for normal business hours Friday and Saturday. Saturday, we are going to be doing the Small Business Saturday sale. So if you are local, we're going to have some awesome deals for you guys to come in and take advantage of. Monday. Okay, then we have on Friday next week. So next week is Demo December. Demo December is something that KimberBell has been participating or hosting for several years. If you sign up for the class, you get the design for free. And it is a little Christmas tree ornament. And here at Above and Beyond, we are going to be doing the dueling machines. But on next Friday, the 5th, we are going to be doing all of our own versions. So Kate has a version of the project. Christine has her own version, and then Cindy has her own version, and then I have my own version. Kits will be available, but they are all super cute. But I just honestly love the creativity that came from it. So take this tiny little 4x4 felt Christmas tree ornament, and we turned it into something else to show you our spin on it. So I do hope that you guys are interested and planning on participating in that. You can sign up online, Cindy. Hi, Charlene. I hope you enjoy the day too, Nancy. Hi, Karen. Feel like you haven't been on in forever, or maybe I just haven't seen you in forever. We miss you. Okay, so we're actually going to start over by my cutting table. So the thing that we talked about when I made the announcement that we would be doing the KimberBell Sweetheart Street bench pillow on live, I mentioned that we used to have a video of Christine and I put it together. And I rewatched it and discovered that it was while I was pregnant with Miko. I guess I had forgotten about that. But, hi, Evelyn. Crazy work. I get that, girlfriend. I had to mention that before, so obviously a long time ago, Miko's 5, that we had a video that we had recorded on Zoom to distribute to people who sign up for the KimberBell classes. This video went over how to completely start a KimberBell larger project, like the bench pillows, the quilts, the things that require beyond multiple fabrics. So they have their mug rugs, and they used to have the pennants and banners. So like not the smaller projects, because those are kind of easier to figure out. But we put a video on, okay, here's our instructions, and this is where you start. I did try to go on and find that video when I had come back to work and discovered that it was no longer there. But Charlene, our friend Charlene, saved the day. So if anybody is interested in that video, you can comment in the comments and let me know. Because it is informative. I am going to cover some of those things today because I did say we were going to do that. So I'm just not going to go as in depth as that other video does. So I'm going to take my tablet. And we're going to start over at the cutting table. Okay, so what I do, whoa, didn't know I was moving. Yeah, sorry about that. So what I will say is that it is a class that we distributed to the customers that had signed up for a class with us. But I know that a lot of you have signed up for those classes. So what I'll do is, if you are interested in that video, comment below. I will take the time to go through and see what larger KimberBell project you have purchased from us and go from there. That way I'm not being unfair to the original viewers of that video. We're kind of keeping it with the same guidelines. Yeah, so just comment below. I will go through and I will look and see what ones you have participated in and everything. And then if I find that you haven't reached out or you haven't purchased one of those larger sized projects that would relate to that video, then I'll give you a call. You got it, Jolie. It was good to see you the other day. I feel like I haven't seen you in forever. I don't. Okay. So this is what I do. First of all, it is a little bit different. So that video that I was referring to is different because those are in the days where KimberBell would have a book for their quilts with all of the instructions pre-printed for you, and then it was a disc on the inside that you would then take and put into your computer to get your files and put it onto a USB stick to then take it to the machine. So we are working with the KimberBell Sweetheart Street Bench Pillow today. I do have the bundle online. Karen, we are going to be doing a comments sold on Friday for Black Friday, which is going to be great for customers who are not local, but we are a small local shop, so we actually participate in the Small Business Saturday. So I guess we're doing the best of both worlds. So we're doing both, but we have the comments sold on Friday, and then we have Small Business Saturday on Saturday. So when I'm going over the instructions, just keep in mind that in today's world, we are in that world of advanced technology and ideas. So now when you buy the designs, it comes in just this little piece of cardstock that is securely taped, and there's a code on the inside that will, and then there's also instructions. So you go onto the website. If you haven't ever done it before, you create an account, and then you'll follow the instructions, enter the code, and then when you get to your digital library or design download the designs section on your account, then these will be there for you. And instead of having a disk, you hit download and it goes straight to your computer. All right. So what I did, because I'm sure at this point you all know how fond I am of my technology. So I have my handy dandy tablet, and we are going to take a little vacation over here because I'm thirsty. And of course, I didn't bring my water over there with me. I'm parched. Okay, so with our instructions, I'm going to be viewing it on my tablet. I like the tablet because you print these instructions, then you have to worry about those instructions. I don't know. I'm anal about books, pages getting bent. I just don't do that. It's a no in my house. So I have my tablet. I have some of my books on my tablet. I have my instructions for my embroidery stuff on my tablet. My pictures for everything on my tablet. Can't go wrong, right? Okay, so I'm going to turn this around. All right, so this is on my tablet. I'm going to try and get it so that the light isn't in there. Okay, so I always start off by reading the instructions, right? Paula's famous words, read all the words. Read them all. Can't go wrong. So you have your table of contents, and then we have some of the basics of applique, some pattern notes and helpful tips. And then here comes all of the cuts for what is inside your kit. So rows, let me see. So what I do in order to get them onto my tablet, I load my email. And since I already have that, I'm going to go to a separate email because since you all know so much about me, you know I love books, I love reading. So these are Colleen Hoover coloring pages and word searches, but you send it to yourself in an email, and I just hit the little arrow, and then it automatically will. Uh-oh, it says it's already been downloaded. Well, I guess we'll re-download. This one hasn't been downloaded. Look, I'm going to go back to that page and it's going to have tons of stuff. But anyways, you do that and then it will open up. This is Note Shelf. All right. So now we have a picture of all of our fabrics. We have what KimberBell has cut it to inside of your kit and what purpose they're going to serve. Then we have the block number they're going to go into. And then we have some different information. So this is going to be a piece of information that was not included in that first original video because at the time we had not yet been introduced to KimberBell's background quilting. So we have the white section to the left and then the block by block section, which is the blue on the right. So you can see that for all of these, they don't really apply until we get to where it says outer border. So what I do is I find out in page 2 of my instructions, it says block instructions. So then it says applique blocks and it has the title of each block. So I know that there are 7 blocks. And I will admit, I used to go and write the names of the blocks, but I just started doing number 7, 3, 4, 2, 1. And I create a piece of paper that says block whatever. and I set them off to the side. So then I get to my first fabric, and I look to see there's a lot of different cuts in here. So if in doubt, you can always scroll past all of this information, and there are fabric cutting diagrams for each of these fabrics. So you can see the best way to cut the fabrics so you don't run into a situation where you end up cutting wrong and then run out of fabric. So the other thing that's really nice about this is on here, it will tell you if that fabric is directional, and it has the picture there so you know how to lay the fabric in the correct position and how to cut it in the correct way. So it is very, very helpful. So I've already done a lot of my cutting just for the sake of us being able to dive into our embroidery. I saved one piece of fabric that we will do together.
What am I looking for?
I don't know. But I did leave one of the fabrics that we can do together. So I'm going to set this up, let it turn. All right, so I am working with fabric 2. All right, so it is a white fabric, so I did grab a different cutting mat because I figured it would be easier for you all to see with that. So I grabbed the Quilters Select cutting mat, and we're going to do this fabric together. All right, so we can zoom in and I can see what I need. Again, if we have any questions, we can scroll down and we can find our royal icing. And I have my fat 16th here in position and ready to go. So I know that my first cut needs to be 2 inches. So we'll cut 2 inches, and then we are going to turn it, and we need 4.5. And then we need 2.5. And then another 2.5. And then this is the little piece, the little sliver that's left over. So I have all of my leftovers on the right-hand side of my box. All right. Then I'm going to bring back my fabric. And I look at our diagram and I can see this time. No, we don't lock it. We want to do 2.5. Two and a half. And then we want to do 2.5. Another 2.5. And our last piece needs to be 2 by 2. Now, these little pieces, I'm not terribly concerned about keeping a hold of, but I have all of my pieces that I need for the project in a pile. And then I have the remaining piece that we have extra of. And I have our box. So in my box, I have the fabrics that I have cut that I'm done with that had excess fabric because we don't want to waste any fabric. So I'm going to add that to this side. However, I do have like the backing and then where did my white pieces go? Don't fret, everyone. I got this. Okay, and then we have the fabrics that are going to be needed when we're ready to stitch our pieces together and complete the project off to the left-hand side. We do have the 2 pieces of the white dot, which is the very first cut. That is going to be our pocket for our fairy lights. So I have that onto this side. I did go ahead and cut my embellishments as well. But the embellishments that I'm not necessarily using right away or that don't need to be done when we're doing the applique, I put right back in my box. All right. And then what I do is zoom out, go back to this. All right. Then this tablet is so weird. Okay, so I have the 2.5 by 2.5, 2.5 by 2.5. All right, so because everything has to be normal, I'm going to change my color back so it's all the same. So 2 pieces, 2.5 by 2.5. Whoa, that's too large. All right, 2.5 by 2.5. And this right here is telling us what block we need to put that into. So that's block 4. So the other thing to keep in mind is these green hearts are an indicator that you need to put fusible backing on these fabrics. So I'm not going to put them with them because I will put the fusible backing on after we get done with the live video and add it to the block. But if I had this pressed with the fusible backing, I have all my blocks laid out. So I have block number 1, block number 2, block number 3, and block number 4, block number 5, and block number 6. So I'm going to do that, and as I go along, I'll highlight. So what I do is I normally will just put my fusible backing on all of these pieces, and then I'll come over here and highlight them as I put them into their designated area. All right. So I've already done block 7 because it is a repeated version of block 1. So I have block 1 done here, and I'm just going to trim the stabilizer, the excess stabilizer away. When we are done with all of our blocks, we will do the squaring up of the orange pop rulers. If you don't know what the orange pop rulers are, do you need them? The answer is yes. They are marvelous things. And we will learn about them in a future video if you need to learn about them. Okay, so I already have my hoop over at the machine, but I'm going to grab the contents of my block 1 with my tablet. And go over to the machine. Hi, Barb. We are doing the KimberBell Sweetheart Street Bench Pillow. At some point, you'd think that I wouldn't need to say it so slow, but here we are. Okay, so I have medium cutaways, what the pattern calls for. And we are going to bring the design in. So I'm going to show you both methods when it comes to the quilting option, because it is a little bit different, but that way you know what your options are. So we're going to go into our embroidery files and go into our USB KimberBell Sweetheart Street. All right. So the first thing we are going to want to do is take a look at our instructions, because our instructions are prime. Okay, so looking at our instructions, we are going to, at this point, we're going to pretend like everything's on here is highlighted. We're ready to start stitching. We're going to go to the first design. And it is, so what I did is I wrote out how long of the stitch out each block is, just for preparation of the class, okay? So we have 2 different methods when it comes to the quilting. You can do it block by block, or you can do placement line hooping. So the only difference is, I mean, you have a couple of different ways that you can do it. So in this method, this is going to let you know that we need to look for design candy, the candy 2. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to do background quilting, candy 2. And then it says what size. We need the 4x8 horizontal design. So then I'm going to go into embroidery files. And we're going to find the 4x8. So there are a couple of different 4x8. So the horizontal quilting is the one we're looking for. This one has the vertical quilting, and we want the horizontal. So that is the one we are going to select, and we're going to hit set. Then we're going to go into add, and we are going to get that applique block design that we need for this block. Okay, then we are going to embroidery files. Okay, so we have a little pot with some candy in it and a little pot with some candy in it. So the design that's block number 7, the little peppermint swirl is on the right side. Block number 1, that peppermint swirl lollipop is on the left. So we're going to select this one. And then when you look at the blocks, it will give you this little symbol to let you know if it needs any special alignment for you to move the design so that it's placed where you want it to be. Because when it comes to the bench pillows, a majority of them are like a street view. So you don't want the house or the center of your flower pot to be in the very center of your block. So this is going to be the instructions to help you align it properly. So when you have your finished project, then your house isn't floating. So like here is the Main Street bench pillow. And then we have the Twilight Boulevard. Again, all of the houses, it looks like they're ground level. All right. So it is letting you know that in here you have some more instructions. So the background quilting does not come with the KimberBell designs. They are an optional purchase where you go onto the KimberBell website. Again, if you do use our Vault or the affiliation link on the website, it just lets KimberBell know that you are a customer of Above and Beyond, and we get a little recognition for that purchase, and we do appreciate it. So if you go to our website and go to affiliate links and then go to the background quilting, then the tab will be, you'll open that up and it will be all of the background quilting designs that you can possibly imagine. So then they're available online for an additional purchase, and they come in a variety of different sizes. It's awesome. And you get them all. So that's fun. So it's going to let you know that once, if you're choosing this block by block, then you are going to follow the instructions. And then when you're done doing the quilting, you're going to find the step that's marked with the star in order to continue with the embroidery. So then it shows you, even close up and personal, how we want that to look. So we are going to bring our design down so that the pot is sitting on top of this line. So we're going to do that really quick. All right, so we're going to hit set. And then we're going to go to edit, and we're going to move. Oh, that's too much zoom. All right, so I'm not moving what's in my hoop. I have my hand selected so I can scroll it up so I have a better visual. And then I'm going to turn my hand off. And then I'm going to use these arrows here. And we are going to bring this down. Whoa, too far. All right, so in this design, if you were not going to be doing it in this way, the design is going to give you a placement line so you know how to place your fabric. You're going to take your background fabric and place it, fold it right sides together to find the center, and then that fold is going to be where that little tick mark is right there. And that's going to be how you align your fabric up so that it is going to be properly placed for you to do the embroidery project, so that when you go to use your orange pop rulers, it's the same thing. We don't want that embroidery design to be in the middle of the hoop. We want some distance between the top of our embroidery to the top of our block. So we're going to make sure that that little tick mark is in between our two lines and that the pot is sitting on that line. So now we're going to say, okay, and we're going to go into embroidery. All right. All right, so now I'm going to put my hoop on the machine. I'm going to thread this with, black thread so that you can see. And directly on top of my stabilizer, I am going to stitch the placement line. So again, this is going to be the method of doing the quilting at the same step as doing the applique block. You can do the quilting for your block, the background quilting, before you do your applique, but then you're going through more stabilizer. But some people prefer to do that, and that's okay. Hi, Lane. All right, so this was our placement line, so we know where to place our batting. Next, we're going to cover our batting, cover our placement stitch with our batting, and then we are going to continue to the next machine step and tack this in place. All right, then we're going to trim the excess. All right, next it's going to give us our placement line so we know where to place our fabric for the background block. Then you're going to make sure that you place your fabric right side up, completely covering that area. And I always tend to have the bottom of my fabric to have a little less fabric than the top in case there is a cutting error just a little bit, just to be a little bit more careful and give yourself a little bit of options in case you need it. And then we are going to tack this in place. All right, so looking at our instructions, I'm just going to show you this really quick. So if we were not even doing the background quilting, if you opt for not wanting to do that, then your first step is going to stitch this placement line with the tick mark directly on top of your stabilizer. And then you're going to fold your fabric in half lengthwise, right sides together, and press. And then you're going to align that fold with that tick mark and then open it up. And then you can tape it in place and tack it in place. And then we're going to move into the directions. But we are doing that background quilting. So in that instructions, it did show us that we need to look for that step that has the star. So we know that we need to skip to this step where we see that on our machine. So we're going to bypass all of those steps. All right. And then the other thing to kind of keep in mind is if you are adding the background quilting as a part of in the step of this process, then the machine step may be different than what the directions say, because we added those steps of adding the batting, trimming it away. We've added those steps, so it may not be the same. So we are doing the quilting, and so I backed up to get to the quilting. And the quilting is done in a light pink. And while it does the quilting, we'll go over some options over here. So we have the embellishment kit. So we have had a lot of people purchase the bundle. The bundle is really going to be the most beneficial package. The bundle is $99.99, and it includes the embellishment kit, the fabric kit, and the designs. So if you are needing to make an additional pillow, which we have had a lot of people actually request, you're going to want to order an additional embellishment kit as well as an additional fabric kit. So we do have those items up online separately. And then there is also a thread kit, which I will let you know we are out of, but we do have more coming in. We have the orange pop rulers. So they come in the square set. This allows you to finish your blocks at 4, 6, and 8 inches. And I don't know if you can see them very well, but there are stickers in here that you can put on the back side of your rulers so that you can make sure when you have your orange pop rulers on the fabric that you're about to square up, it doesn't shift or move. So it does help with preventing mistakes from happening. Very, very helpful. And then they have the rectangle set, and they help finish the blocks at 4 by 6, 6 by 8, and 8 by 10. And again, you still have those stickers in there, but you have some additional templates in here. You have a flying geese ruler in 2 sizes, a tumbler block, and a standard ruler that is 3.5 by 1/4 inch. So I like to use this one when I'm sewing late at night and my mind is playing tricks on me. I will say that we have gotten into the habit of nailing it. We can put this ruler over a block and we can just be very comfortable with saying it's centered inside that block. But when in doubt, you can use this ruler to make sure that it is so-and-so from this edge and so from this edge, and same for the top and the bottom. So it does, they are very handy. And then we have a Sweetheart Street or Sweet Shop Fat Quarter Bundle, which we don't have any down here at the moment. And we have the layer cake for the new line that was introduced with this design in pillow. This is the Sweet Shop 10-inch layer cake. And then we also have a jelly roll. So is everybody ready for Thanksgiving? All right, so I'm nearing the end of this design. We just have our little bear to do. So I'm looking at my instructions and I know that the next step is going to be a light gray, which they call smoke, with the glide. So I'm just gonna get that ready. All right, and with that light gray fabric, thread, sorry, we are going to stitch the lollipop stick fill. Ooh. Deviled eggs, they are my favorite. I actually boiled some eggs this morning so I could make them when I get home. You're funny, Nancy. If he's in the fridge and he can get away, then my word of advice is don't open your fridge. So the other thing that I like about the tablet is as I go, Shelly, will you call Matt and tell him I'm doing live? Thank you. Is you can mark. So if you're sewing and doing laundry, if you're sewing and taking care of kids, then you can mark off what you have done just to kind of keep up and be able to pick up where you're currently at. Then when you are done with that page or done with the project, you can go in and clear the page so that you can use it again at a later time. All right, so the next step is using that light pink that we did our quilting with. Shelly, you can go if you want. You can lock me in.
Oh no, I'll stay. I'm no worries.
And we're going to stitch our lollipop. So, okay, with the quilting is themed. So the sweet shop is going to have like the candy sweet vibe to it to get quilted. But they do have a candy number 1 and a candy number 2 with different options. And then before each block, it will tell you what one you need and which direction the quilting is supposed to be going in. Although, it doesn't have to be that way. So if you wanted the quilting to be the vertical quilting for this line, or for this block, then that is completely up to you. But I do think that a lot of these are going to be, let me see. So the next block, the little house that says welcome, the background quilting says cappuccino, candy, yum, taffy, and all of these words are in different fonts and they're in different directions. Alrighty, alrighty, alrighty. Next. Well, thanks, Donna. Next, I'm going to get my dark gray. And I'm going to stitch the placement line for our little pot. Then we're going to take our gray fabric, which has the fusible backing on it, and we're going to place it right sides up, and we're going to tack this in place.
Okay. Oh, I can do that.
Okay, I keep chasing my scissors. And then we are going to trim.
Look what you did.
All right. Then we are going to stitch the satin. That would be perfect, Sandy. Alrighty, now we need our light thread that is labeled I. Which is the pink lemonade. And we're going to stitch our placement line for our lighter pink. So we have two different pinks. We're going to be working with our lighter one. All right, and now it's going to do the satin stitch around. All right, now it's going to stitch the line across our other lollipop with that same color. Then we're going to get our red thread. And we will stitch the placement line for our red vinyl. And I'm not going to use tape to hold it in place. Once we get a few stitches in, it's going to be secure enough that I can let go of it. All right, now we're going to trim the excess. All right, with the same thread, it's going to do the swirl for our sucker. Alrighty, then we're going to put the light pink that we did our quilting in, and it's going to do, whoa, a little decorative stitch on the edges of that red. And these ones, they don't cut the jump stitches, so you'll have to do that at the end. And then we're gonna get our dark green, and it's gonna stitch the leaf. And then we only have 9 minutes left in the design. And I will admit I did, but I will show you. All right, the next step, we are going to use the last applique fabric with, and we need the bubble gum, isn't it? No, pink. All right, so we're going to change the thread, because with this, you don't want to do your tack down line in a different thread, because I know sometimes we tend to be like, okay, well, this is going to be a placement line. I'm still using pink. In this case, we were using green. And we skip that step. I've just gotten into the habit of going ahead and changing. But this fabric is not going to have a satin stitch around it. It has one of those decorative outlines. So you will want it to be in the thread you want. And we're going to tack it in place. And we're going to trim the excess. All right, we're going to do that decorative outline. Next, the gray is creating an interesting color that is different than lots of KimberBell. It is different. And we're going to go back to the same thread that we did our quilting in, the light pink. And it's going to do the center of our flower. Alrighty, we're going to put that pink thread back in that we were using for this flower. And it's going to do the dots in the center of our flower. Well, and it doesn't cut those jump stitches, so that's just a little disappointing. Okay, then we're going to put the really pretty blue that I love, Lagoon, and we're going to stitch the petals of our second to last flower. Then we're going to get our light green, which I believe they call celery. And do the center of this flower. And then we are going to change our thread to the light yellow. Oh, Sandy, I remember you telling us this. And we're going to do our last flower. All right, we're going to put that pink back in there. I love it when you guys share those memories. Oh, Nancy, he's used to it. And I'm happy to do it. All right, we're going to put that pink back in, and we're going to do the last step, and it's going to stitch the center. All right. So that is it, my friends. We are all done with that block. So what I do want to go ahead and say is that the other pieces of this are a bit repetitive. So I'm going to do another building for sure, and maybe the Cupid's Cupcakes block or the one with the directions. And then the rest we can just treat as homework. And then we will do the borders. Now the borders, you have options. So in that list, it gave you in the white if you're doing the standard method, or if you're going to do it block by block. But I do think that the block by block is the blue section. They have you cut your fabrics a little bit larger so that you can do the batting, the quilting, and the trimming and everything. You're going to trim it down before you sew all your pieces together. But I think it just makes the most sense to put all of your pieces together into a strip and then do your quilting on the borders in that method. So that is the way that I'm going to go. But if any of you have any questions on doing it the other way, you know I'm always here for you. So you can give me a call and I can walk you through that if you haven't done it already. But we love you all. We appreciate you guys all so much. And we hope that you have a beautiful Thanksgiving holiday with your family and friends and the people who love you most.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. All right, we'll see you on Friday. Oh, and next time, you deserve to slap me. Okay, basting. I thought I switched it. All right, so we have to get out of here. This is the basting box. The little box with the flower with the stitch around it. And forgive me. All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a great Thanksgiving. See you on Friday.